You're watching the Randy and Christa Show. I'm Randy Alvarez.
And I'm Christa Orecchio, and this is News That Makes You Healthier. Today we're talking about becoming your own health detective. And what does that mean? Randy, we're going to talk about how do you heal things from the root cause. You know, really what we wish that all medicine was is figuring out what's wrong from the root and healing it from there so that healing really lasts. And we have a friend of mine coming on the show, Reed Davis. He founded a training course called Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. He's also a clinical advisor at BioHealth Labs, one of the lab companies that I work with and run lab tests. So we're going to talk about a bunch of good stuff
Okay,
today.
good. You know, one of the things we were talking about before we came on, these are not MDs, these are not PhDs, naturopathic physicians, but these are the hardcore nutritionists that are helping a lot of people get well. And these are the people that actually medical doctors are turning to learn about nutrition.
Exactly,
Is that right? I mean,
exactly.
And I think people need to know that because when they see the show, but these are people that are in the trenches, I guess, and
Reed's been
really doing some phenomenal work.
It's phenomenal work. He's been working for the last 15 years in this field and really understanding how to identify things. Like, for example, if you have a parasite or a pathogen or something, if your body's weak, then those things can stay in. And so how do you make sure, let's say a mainstream medical doctor might only test one day, oh, you're fine, you don't have anything. So we needed to develop these more extensive tests to really find accurate of what was going on.
Now, another thing I want to mention, because a lot of my friends are mainstream medical doctors, there are thousands of mainstream medical doctors, not so mainstream medical doctors, that believe in what Reed is talking about this functional testing.
Right.
And so, it's kind of like what you always talk about in the local news here. What do you call it? Letting your food?
Food is medicine.
Food is medicine. And, I want to mention another thing. For the last 15 years, I've been interviewing medical doctors. The first 8 years was almost only medical doctors. And whenever I interview, I've interviewed some medical doctors from major medical centers, endocrinologists that say, I've never seen a reversal in type 2 diabetes ever. It cannot be done, right? But you see that in your practice over the years all the time. Guys like this see it all the time, reversals in type 2 diabetes. People that have autoimmune diseases, you see reversals all the time. The traditional medical doctors, I'm saying traditional, even though there are thousands across the country that are embracing this concept. So I want to make sure that that we're not, I'm not bashing traditional medical doctors.
Of course not.
But I don't want these people to be prejudged. We invited them on the show. These are handpicked by you. These are kind of the movers and shakers behind the scenes, with nutrition.
Well, these are the people,
Right?
they are trained, they've graduated from working individually and they are training coaches and they're having a huge effect on the world.
Good.
And like you say, we want to build the bridge with this show between natural and Western or allopathic medicine. It's not that one is better than the other, but how do we work together to get the best effect and the healthiest people?
Good.
And so that's exactly what you say. When you get a diagnosis, you have lupus, you have fibromyalgia, you have MS, it's like you're being doomed to just degrade. But if you can look at the body and see what's happening and strengthen it systemically, not just focus on one organ or gland or the endocrine system, but everything all at once, that's when you get these reversals. That's when people get their lives back. And that's what Reed does, and that's what he's going to talk about.
And I know, and people need to know too, because we have a conversation about, I said we need to get some MDs and NDs that have this philosophy on the show just for credibility.
We're going to get them.
But you come to the defense, and it's rightly so. But Randy, and you say sincerely, and people need to know, they're really helping people. They're getting people better. So I want to make sure you know that I could totally appreciate that.
I know.
And I'm saying look for a medical doctor, look for a nutritionist, because the truth of the matter is, it's like, the nutritionists are the doctors. They are the healers.
Well, it's prevention, right? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Okay, so we're going to bring Reed on via Skype right now.
Reed is coming on, the founder of the Functional Diagnostic Nutrition course and a clinical advisor at BioHealth Labs. Reed, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Christa. It's a real pleasure to be here with you and Randy.
Now, we invited you on the program today to talk about how to become a health detective or how to hire a health detective.
Fantastic.
So that's what you consider yourself, a health detective?
Yes, sir.
And what does it mean to you? What does it mean?
That means that I can get to the root cause of people's health problems instead of just treating their symptoms. So we run some labs to look at function in the body so we can heal the body. The labs identify healing opportunities So we can work on that. These are the areas a person needs to improve on, again, instead of just treating their symptoms. So that's why we call ourselves health detectives.
Okay, so what topic then? What type of testing are you doing? So somebody's tired, they have low energy, they feel lousy. Where do you begin? And where should a person begin?
You know, we have a series, so we would probably look at hormones in the adrenal glands if that was their initial symptoms. And there's a lot of places where those symptoms could come from, but that sounds like adrenal fatigue and the hormones get out of whack and then you're not sleeping very well and then you're tired during the day. And it carries on from there. So that would be a good place to start with a simple saliva test. And of course, you need to stop me when you need to, but you know, we also look at gut function, for instance, and make sure you're breaking down and absorbing nutrition. That could be a reason why you're fatigued. You're really not absorbing, even though you're eating good food. Another thing might be the detoxification system. Make sure you're actually cleaning and detoxifying your body every night during sleep and while you exercise and these kind of things. So there are some neat little tests that people can do at home. They're not expensive, and it's actually a lot of fun too. People learn a lot about themselves.
So these are saliva tests that you send to the patient or the person.
Yes.
And what's that like? And then what's the turnaround time? And are there
really
more elaborate tests depending on how sick they are?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we kind of have our baseline tests, and it's actually saliva and urine, maybe stool testing, because some people have parasites and bacteria and funguses and things. So we would have them do these at-home kits. Again, saliva, urine, and stool could be collected easily at home. It's not really expensive. We do give the client the test kits. We can even have them shipped, because I work with people all over the world. They can collect their specimens, send it into the lab, and in a week or 8 days, 10 days sometimes, we're looking at test results instead of just, again, what's your symptom and here's your medicine. Or even if we're not doctors, we could, you know, sell supplements or something. And I quit doing that a long time ago. These labs really give us the healing opportunities and the things that need to be taken care of, the things that need to be improved. So the turnaround for the client is sometimes a matter of weeks before they start feeling better. Sometimes it's more instantaneous. You know, just the fact that you're doing something is provides a lot of hope for people. And of course, other things do take longer. If you had fungal infections and parasites and your gut was dysfunctional and your adrenals are down and your hormones are imbalanced, that could take 6, 12, 18 months. But the main thing is to get into the process of working with a good FDN health coach. I'm sorry, FDN is what we call my brand of this functional medicine arena.
So Reed, okay, you're a clinical advisor at one of my favorite labs, BioHealth. I've run that in my practice so much, and it helped me become a much better practitioner. So what are the top 3 labs you would run? Like, name them and explain. The adrenal, the digestion, and I think a liver panel is probably what you would run,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, well, the first test, we call it the adrenal stress profile. So, you know, Randy mentioned not sleeping well and being tired all the time. You know, we have all kinds of stressors. We look at the level of stress on the adrenal glands, your amount of adaptive reserve, what that does to the sex hormones and other hormones, your cortisol, and things that tell us just how much stress you're under, how much it's beat you up. So we'd run that test. It's a simple saliva test. You collect saliva morning, noon, afternoon, and nighttime before bed. Now, another test we'd have you do is a urine collection. That tells us how well you're breaking down food. It also tells us how well your liver is functioning, because your liver is like a big filter in a way, and if it's congested, you're going to have some issues around that, you know, detoxification problems. People have achy joints and bad skin and, you know, again, the fatigue and all these kinds of things. And so this is not diagnosing and treating specific diseases. We're not there to label something, so here's the drugs or surgery, that kind of a thing. It's what area does a person actually need to improve. And you know what? You can improve your hormone levels. You can improve how well you're breaking down and absorbing food. You can improve how well your immune system's working. You know, they say about 75% of your immune system is actually in the gut and around the gut, because you eat all of this bacteria and you have to be protected from that. So by healing the gut and the immune system, by healing the gut and its ability to absorb food, you imagine how much good that could do a person who's sick or suffering some kind of consequences, you know, some kind of symptoms, and yet they've been to their physician who just, you know, doesn't really look at some of these underlying conditions. They want to obviously relieve the pain and discomfort, so there's medication for that. And so we just find a lot of people don't want to do that system.
So once you get all of the tests for people, and now they have the proof in front of them that they have some problems. Maybe their adrenals are fatigued or burned out. They have food sensitivities, or they have gut issues, etc.
Right.
Then what? Then you put them on a plan. This gives them the leverage they need to take action with their goal, because no matter what their problem is, are you going to fix it with food, combination of supplements that heal? Tell me about that.
Perfect. Well, you can come and work for me anytime, Randy, because you seem to get it, It's all about a holistic lifestyle plan. So we've put it into a very easy to follow, we call it DRESS, which is diet. Obviously, you have to eat right and control your blood sugar and not eat a bunch of junk. You have to rest. Now, getting a good night's sleep is critical to your health, so we can coach that up. Now, also, DRE would stand for what? Exercise. We have to move our bodies. We're designed perfectly to move a lot. And when you're not moving, you're getting kind of clogged up. So diet, rest, exercise. Now, the two S's stand for stress reduction and supplements. We do believe in supplements, although I don't own a single penny's worth of stock in any supplement company. You can buy whatever you like, but I know a few things about supplements. But the stress reduction is the key, Randy, because you got to eliminate stress, and it's not just mental, emotional stress, like your job is getting you down, or your relationship, your financial situation, these kind of things. There's even kind of a spiritual stress. But we work mostly in the area of these biochemical and physiological stressors. Like if you do have the food sensitivities that you mentioned, again, the parasites and the bacteria and the funguses. And of course, the environment is very toxic, and it loads up inside the body. And so this area of stress reduction has become a focal point for us. Malfunctions in the body and these internal and external stressors really do a lot of damage, especially when it's been years and years and years. And so people have over, let's say you're 35, 45 years old, and you're feeling like heck, you just can't get through the day sometimes. Well, it's usually started a long time ago. So what we do is we look upstream at the dysfunctions, not necessarily right at that one little symptom, because there's lots of things you could do for symptom relief. And so, again, we're looking upstream at where are the dysfunctions. And I'll just explain a little bit more. Stress from all these internal, external, has all these effects on the bodies, on every cell and every organ, on tissues and things. And yet it's a cascade. It's going to affect one person differently than another. So you and I, Randy, could have the exact same stressors, but in my body, they just worked out to where my joints hurt and my muscles are achy or something. It could have a completely different effect. That's why we don't chase the symptoms. Again, we go upstream and try to sort things out. Again, these functional laboratory tests tell us hormone, immune system, digestion, detoxification. And when you clean those things up, again, you haven't diagnosed or treated a specific condition. You've really worked on everything in a non-specific way, which is the holistic way. That's the way your body's built, designed to work. So it's really an amazing thing.
I have two questions for you, Reed. One is, what percentage of your clientele do you see that has some sort of pathogen? Because it's way higher than it used to be. And the second one is, do you ever use a Band-Aid approach? Like if someone is really in a bad adrenal fatigue, their liver's not functioning well, they're exhausted, do you ever use bioidenticals just to pick them up so that they have the wherewithal to make these changes in their life?
Well, absolutely. The first part of your question is people have bugs that they're not, we all have bugs. We all get exposed to bugs. The real question isn't about the bug. It's about the health of the host. And are you able to, let's say, pass those through your body, neutralize them? So you might eat an egg that has a little salmonella in it, and that wouldn't be a good thing. That's basically a rotten egg. But let's say that I ate it, my body would be able to deal with that. I'm just really healthy. I've built my immune system up. So I might get the little sniffles. Now, the next person, it could kill them because it's the person, not the bug. So get that straight first. And then the other thing you mentioned was the relief care. And of course, it's very important. If a lady comes to me who has hot flashes and night sweats, I can't tell her, well, we got to take a lot of time to sort it all out and find out what all the stresses are and relieve stress. You can't work out here. You do need to get relief care. And that's actually where sometimes medicine or supplements or some specific thing would work very well for a short term. But if you leave the person there, guess what? They're really not better. Those symptoms are going to come back, sometimes with a vengeance, or they will come back as different symptoms if that cascade of stress and dysfunction are still ongoing. So relief care is not a bad thing. I never meant to leave you with that impression. And absolutely, there's good naturopathic ways to relieve suffering.
So what about detox? Do you taper in your program? Okay, so the tests come back, and let's say they don't have a parasite, but they're stressed out. They're, a lot of products, right?
Sure.
So with the food, are you tapering people off some of these toxic chemicals in their diet, or is it a cold turkey, like their aspartame or their caffeine or whatever?
Well, caffeine is a little different because it's very addictive.
Or alcohol or whatever.
Yeah, these things that are addictive, you can be weaned off of. But other things, you need to just quit doing them. And it's not so much what you quit doing, it's what you substitute in its place. So we actually have ways of giving people a diet plan. Look, here's the good, clean stuff that you're not sensitive to. And, the menu, things like that. So, we have a coaching system, and that's really answers your question of a few minutes ago. One thing, this first step is to run the labs and do a really good assessment. The second thing is to come up with a customized plan for each individual. Again, it's DRESS, but everybody's a little bit different. And then there's the coaching period. So that's really step 1, 2, 3. And so detox might be part of that. But you may not want to, like if a woman's pregnant or nursing, you don't detox them because it will pass through into the baby. So there's all kinds of things going on like that. But generally, we do have toxins. The liver collects a lot of things, the kidneys and such, and they can be cleaned out. There's tried and true, sort of time-tested ways to do that.
How many years have you been doing this?
This is my 15th year.
Have you seen some huge reversals? People with autoimmune, people that were just down and out, people that maybe they went to Mayo or they've traveled all over the country and somehow they heard about you, and just by cleaning up their diet, maybe giving them some supplements to heal or kill the bad bugs.
Absolutely.
That now they're just living great lives.
Well, no question about it. Personally, I've experienced that. And, I did sort of bad things to my body. I was very abusive to my body back in the 60s and 70s, and then I worked very hard in physical labor jobs and things like that as a younger person. And so I really beat the heck out of myself. Now I'm 61 years old. I feel like any sort of 29, 30 to 35-year-old someone there. They say, if you can get yourself back to when you were about 40 and really, really healthy, you should stay that way till you're about 80. So in other words, there's this idea that we get older, and then we go downhill after that. Actually, you should get to about 40, be really, really healthy, and just go flatline till you shouldn't start aging again until you're about 80 years old. So there's this really huge anti-aging aspect to what we do, and it's exciting.
Yeah, you think once you get to a certain level of health, it's much easier to maintain. It's just finding out exactly what's really dragging you down.
So these are the labs you use. You use this?
It's one of the lab companies that I use. I run the 401H all the time.
What is that? What's the 401H?
The 401H it's a stool test to identify pathogens and H. pylori.
That's terrible.
And I also we're going to give one to Randy.
I'm not taking that.
Yeah, I run
easier. Listen, a lot of people have an aversion, but these things are actually quite simple to do at home. And
well, if you feel good, if you feel good though, obviously, if you're really sick, I believe that you need to take these kind of things. But for the healthy person, I also believe that, how often do you think somebody should get all of this testing?
That's a great question,
if you're
Randy.
Feeling good.
We'll do some initial testing, get people into a program. Again, it's a coaching up of vital reserve. The body wants to be healthy. So you coach up all of the things that are required to be healthy, like diet and rest and exercise and reducing stress in every way you can identify it, and taking your supplements. So you're coaching up things. We also coach down some of these parasites, and they need to be sort of knocked down. And that just whole aspect of coaching, good stuff up and coaching bad stuff down really works. Now, it's something you never finish doing. How long do you do this? You do
Like every year? What I mean is for testing every year, every
No.
3 years?
Every
for
couple
somebody
of
that's
years.
feeling great?
Every 3 to 5 years.
It really depends, and there's no need to do continuous testing all of the time. Although I do, because I'm in the business and I'm always researching new labs. I am a consultant for one lab, but I'm not bound to them, and I don't own any stock in that company. I use a lot of different labs, and we're always trying out new labs. So, but let's say you were monitoring hormone levels. You had a person who was using some bioidentical hormones or something. Yeah, then of course you have to monitor that. And the monitoring tests tend to be a lot cheaper than the initial testing. So we've got it sort of all figured out. With the stool testing, if you have Giardia, which is a bad parasite infection to have, you probably want to retest to see if you got rid of it, something like that. Or some kind of follow-up test to see that the functions have been restored to normal. So, I just can't answer it with
Sure.
once a year. You don't do it that way. But the key is to learn how to take care of yourself. We don't want medical care because that's really disease care. The word health care in this country it's disease care. They're taking care of sick people. So you can opt in now to self-care, learn what we teach, or you will be forced in later to disease care. So it's really a choice that people have.
Now, we only have about a minute left. Christa?
Okay.
Well, I mean, seriously, I'm right there with you, Reed. You're awesome. I have thought you were awesome for so long. And now I know a lot of our viewers want to become their own health detective. And a lot of people, once they do that, they want to do it for others. So tell us more about the Functional Diagnostic Nutrition course. And I know that you are giving so generously our viewers a discount if they wanted to enroll. What's it all about?
Fantastic, thanks. So I developed this system over many years as a case manager at a wellness center. Doctors working there. I was basically the nutritionist, a nutritional therapist. But, again, just selling supplements doesn't work. And they didn't want just, prescriptions and things like that. We had chiropractor and acupuncture and stuff like that. Anyway, so I started running labs and put this system together. It took me over 8 years, and I'm still working on it. But about 6 years ago, I started teaching a course in how you can learn this system. We call it Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. You can go to functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com and learn everything there is there. Now, it will tell you how you could become an FDN practitioner. And so if you are in the business, if you're a health coach, if you're a nutritionist, if you're a personal trainer, if you're a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, if you're a medical doctor, we have actually a growing number of those who want to learn, a more functional way of looking at the body. So if you're any of that, you can become a health detective.
So they go to the website. We're out of time. I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Yes,
Great
sir.
stuff.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Nice to see you, Randy. Nice to see you. I look forward to getting together soon, Christa. Thank you.
Yes, I'll see you soon, Reed. Thanks for being here.
So, that's a big topic. You say Reed could go pretty deep into some of these topics.
I've seen him do a lot of different lectures and talks with my friend Sean, and he can really drive deep into each one of those. So we'll have to have him back and go really deep into hormones and deep into the liver function, talking about the markers, talking about the metabolic pathways and detoxification and the nuances of pathogenic fungal infections.
It's nice, what do you call it, functional testing? This is the kind of testing he's saying, look for a food detective. In your own practice, do you consider yourself a food detective?
You know what? The greatest compliment I've ever gotten from a client is she said, I feel like you're the Dr. House of nutrition. Do you know that show?
Yeah.
And it was such a great compliment because I really, if somebody comes to me, I want it to be permanent. I want their symptoms to go away, their life to change, and for them to be able to manage their health successfully for the rest of their life. And so then I know I've done my job. And this happened to be a very complicated client, viruses, heavy metal toxicity, we couldn't chicken or egg issue. And when we figured it out, everything shifted for her. So it's the same philosophy that Reed was talking about. You don't guess at it, you test it, you do the right tests. You don't want to make somebody go broke because a lot of the problem is a lot of these tests aren't covered by traditional insurance panels. So you have to be judicious with the lab work that you're running.
Good. You know what I like? I like a lot of what he said. And people come to him at different levels of damage to their metabolism or to their body, their physiology.
Right.
And so each test will show, some person may come in with a parasite, yeast overgrowth, all of these problems, right?
Yeah.
And they need different types of nutrition, different types of supplementation to address that. Is that correct? Am I getting this right?
You got it.
Because this is your business, right?
It's about finding a snapshot of exactly where you are and customizing from there. And the problem is it takes a lot of time to do that, and we just don't have that time in the mainstream with our traditional medical doctors. But if there's some sort of blending and melding that can happen where doctors can take more time with patients, this can be this paradigm shift.
And there's not a lot of, at the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine and the Functional Medicine Conference that's coming up, is the ones that are really doing good work, these medical doctors realize they can't do it without a nutritionist, period.
Well,
and they preach
implementation,
this.
it has to be implemented, yeah.
There's no way in a 15-minute or even an hour that they're going to be able to go over the nutrition. So they literally have 12-week programs, 6-month programs where you see a nutritionist every single week. They say you cannot heal people without it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to preach to me.
So
Food
this
can be a
guy,
medicine.
so Reed Davis, you
So
use some
Reed
of his labs.
Davis-
What's he good for?
Yeah.
For you? Like, how do you use him in your practice?
Well, they're not his labs per
Right,
se.
but the ones he
Yeah, so
lectures
I use the stool testing. I check for leaky gut. It's a very great test. I test a lot of the adrenal hormones. I test melatonin. I'm looking at circadian rhythm. Definitely the sex hormones. I find sex hormones are more accurate, or hormones in general, when you test them in saliva.
Okay.
Mainstream medicine, you test them in blood, but there's proteins in blood that can bind to them, throw the results off. I run them both in tandem. It looks like you ran it on 2 different people.
Okay.
So I like that test. I also like his liver test. Sometimes if you just focus on someone's liver, you can get them healthier. Like he was talking about, if you create a healthy body, then that body can get rid of pathogens and parasites.
How much are these tests? I'm sorry to interrupt. We have about a minute left.
They're not that expensive.
about
They're
how much?
anywhere from, I'd say, $150 to the top expensive one is $276.
Why don't we do this? Let me get no stool test, but let me get like the
wanna
best
do a stool
testing
test.
you would do, because I feel great already.
Okay, all right.
But I could lose some weight. My cravings are a little bit out of control.
Yeah.
I'm sleeping pretty good.
Okay.
So let's do that. Then why don't you interpret?
So the
my
test we're
stuff.
going to run, yeah, let's do it. We're going to look at secretory IgA. I want to look at the health of the lining of your gut. I want to look at your adrenal hormones, but then I also need a urine test to look at the neurotransmitters in your brain.
Okay.
Because I think dopamine, I think there's something going on with dopamine
got
for you.
dopamine issues?
And if we could balance it, then your cravings would go away.
Okay, good. Well,
Yeah.
finally somebody that figured it out. Okay.
I want to say that Reed is given, if anybody wants to take his course, we have a code, WJ500, and you will get $500 off his course.
Okay.
If it resonates with you, fdntraining.com.
We'll put that at the bottom of the screen. Krista,
Perfect.
another great show with you.
Be your own health detective. That's the takeaway for you guys, is no matter where you are, no matter how you feel, how good or bad, if it's bad, there's so much hope, and the body wants to heal itself.
Okay, good. You've been watching the Randy and Krista show. I'm Randy Alvarez.
I'm Christa Orecchio, and we wish you good health.